So to me, I've never been a starting artist. I've never
Yeah.
started. And like I said at the beginning, you can see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot wait to start this interview. That's why we're jumping in right now with this amazing vocalist, a teacher, someone that has just the heart of a creative on her sleeve, and she shares it with everyone that she meets and in her performances. So I cannot wait for you to meet Lennis Sabatino to the God and Gig Show. Welcome. How are you?
Hello. I'm so glad to be here, Alan. You know that I love you and everything that you do. I read every single one of the newsletters that come into my email. It's always so uplifting. It's always so positive. And I'm just so proud to see you just expanding and flying. That to me is a credit and a testament to who you are as a soul. And you understand and have understood the assignment that God has given us. And many musicians don't. Sometimes they miss it. You know, they miss that we're here to save the world. They miss that that's what we're here. We're here to compose the world, not compose music. Music is God's. We bring that from heaven. The fact that it's why I say all the time, I am just a pencil. Don't give me credit for what God did. Because he did it before I even created.
Wait, Lennis, wait. I haven't asked a single question. I could literally be like, how did you just drop all those nuggets literally before I even said, like, where are you from? Where are you born? Like, right, you understand, like, how we can't even do it. Like, we can't. No, this because this is where you live. Like, you live on this plane of positivity and inspiration. So, okay, so we do have to dial it back though, because you already just you just opened it up already. I said it from the get-go.
There's more to come, but we got
it. There is. Okay, but first, if people are meeting you, so you got me all tongue-tied. I'm so excited. If people are meeting you for the first time, which many might be on this audio or video, right?
Absolutely.
Can you just give them, I know this is hard, but everybody has to do it, like the 30-second, 45-second little pitch thingy probably that's like, oh, well, who is Lennis? And something like that, just to give them like an idea of what you do, and just so they can get kind of like that snapshot, and then we'll dive deeper.
Sure. So a little background on me. I'm Dominican and Sicilian, born and raised in New York City. My name is Lennis Sabatino, as you said. I was raised in New York City, went to Berklee College of Music for 2.5 years, then finished online and did a whole bunch of other schooling. I have sat in many amazing rooms with many amazing musicians. I've had what I feel. By the time I was 19, I thought I had already lived my entire career. I was already super happy by the time I was 19. So everything after 19 has been icing on the cake, even as tumultuous and crazy as life got, because we all know you don't have, you're not in the journey if you haven't had a few pitfalls. So, I just love life, really. If people know me down at heart, I always say, music is what I do. It is something that I was created for, but I am God's soul on mission. And if you want to ever describe me, that's what I want on my epitaph, if I ever have to leave it, is here lies one of God's favorite souls. And that's it. That to me, that means I've accomplished everything I've ever set out to accomplish.
And see, the beautiful thing that you just said, I want to just kind of go to that first part you said, because I always try to pull out little things that are just like, wait, like even I didn't know that. And we've been talking for years, right? But when you mentioned the thing about feeling like you'd lived your whole life by 19. So I know for many musicians, artists, creatives, we do start in the beginning, and it's like we have the stars in our eyes, and we have the dreams of being big stars or whatever. So tell me, what was it? What was the dream, if there was a dream, that was at the beginning of your career? And and why did you think you'd realize, like, what was that pinnacle that you'd realize by 19? Because that's super early for a lot of us.
Yeah. So I started doing Broadway and musical theater and singing really young. Right. So every summer, as an ambassador of peace, as a part of the All City High School Choir, which meant that it was the most talented in the whole, the 5 boroughs and also New Jersey. So we used to audition people from New Jersey into the All City Choir as well. So I traveled with them as one of the lead vocalists to Spain. We went all of Eastern Europe. We used to do tours all the time. More importantly, it's how I sang with Mel Torme in Carnegie Hall. It's how I sang at the Met. It's how I got to the Grammys. So by the time I had gotten to 19, I went to the Grammys and I experienced the life that these musicians long for. The red carpets, the R&B awards. I met everyone. It was psychotic because for me, my freedom and me being in control is my freedom. And while I was with them and the management had me and they were moving me, it was like, Lennis, you wake up, you go here. Lennis, you do that. So I realized that that's not what I want. That's not the career I want. And I definitely was never even planning on going into pop music. That was never my thing. I've been a jazz head since my dad bore me because that's how he raised me. So I was like, you know, like I came to Florida to learn rock and roll, country, and Latin music. So when musicians are like, oh, I don't know what to do when I'm trapped, I'm like, you don't know how to think outside of the box so that you can monetize yourself as a business person. If you don't think of yourself in business terms and you say, well, is that really going to bring me full joy? Do I really want to work on that song? Do I really? That's how I book every event, Alan. I'm being honest. I don't book based on money. I booked based on what my intuition and God is telling me from inside. Like, yeah, that's a good road.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
So
when I
let's,
went there, God was like, this ain't it. So I went to
yeah,
Berklee and I studied music business because what I wanted to do was what they were doing.
on the top
I
level.
wanted to learn, take the control away from them
Right.
so that I can have control over me and my entire career. So my dream was always to be able to sustain and live my life in a peaceful way through music. That's always been my dream, and I do that now. So I can't stand up and look at God and be like, well, you never gave me what I wanted. I don't have the right to, right?
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
I have the peace. I have the joy in my heart, and the only other thing that I've ever asked him was, let me sing until you bring me back home. They will bury me with a microphone. That's it. Those are my only two requests in life. You know, I just want to be happy and live my life. It's never been about cars and houses and millions of dollars. Never. It has never been about that for me. Now, granted, those things have come and gone and, you know, and they come back again and they go again. And that's great because it's great, right? But even when COVID hit, and we all know what that felt like, right? As the entire industry, the entire world felt it, but our hospitality and entertainment industry are still recovering from it, right? Here we are 4 years later. So it impacted us in such a way that it made me start thinking about what are the other avenues or what other ways can we as musicians monetize ourselves. And it started back then with that birth. And in January of this year, I said, I know what we're going to do. So I put together, I'm in this wonderful monetized mastermind group on Tuesdays. And it's a whole bunch of business, very, very affluent business owners. We do it for the whole year. We signed up. It was in the thousands of dollars, we'll just say, to have to pay for the system. But I also know that I need to reinvest in myself so that I can climb to the higher rung. If I don't keep reinvesting, I stay stagnant. And that's what musicians do. They sit in their creativity and forget about productivity.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to pause you right there. Pause, 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 pause. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I knew you. That's
Two.
why that's why I stopped because I
I
was like,
thank you
he's gonna be
because I
like,
was like,
what?
I'm not letting you go. Whoo, okay, because that's a rewind, that's a tweetable moment, that's an X moment, whatever we do now, I don't know X, whatever it's called, right? I want to take you right there to where you said the part about what musicians really want, and coming down to Florida, and the idea of kind of being in these boxes, right? Because and even going back to COVID, I'm trying to, because there's so much good stuff you're sharing. I want to make sure, like, I dialed in a couple of them that I know people are going to say, like, wait, did she really say that? Like, yeah.
I did. I'm sorry.
Because the goal of so many of, let's just stick with the musicians, because I know we talk to all kinds of
Sure.
creatives, right? As we're
Absolutely.
talking about,
No,
we're trying to think
we'll
outside the
talk
box, but this is
musicians.
really
Yeah.
like musicians for now. So many of us see this, like you said, getting on these stages. You were there and you're like, I don't want that. And then you said you went to Berklee for the control to learn what they knew about the music business. So I want to ask, did you see any pitfalls or struggles once you decided to leave that kind of gig, run after the gig, run after getting the tours? Did you get any pushback from other musicians, from other creatives, from other people in the industry who were like, no, like, you don't, what are you doing? You're going to, you're joining the enemy. You know what I mean? Like, did you get any pushback from people? Because like you just said, a lot of musicians don't understand this part. So did you even,
Sure.
find that kind of struggle
So
or pushback
what
back then?
I guess that I never really found the struggle because I'm a light. So I knew that wherever I went, it doesn't matter, right? God could send me into the snake pit and I'll make sure that they all get saved, right? So I've always said that it doesn't matter where I'm at. I don't stop being who I am. To sit here and say and demonize, let's just say we demonize, we talk about it. It's all over the internet, right? The Illuminati, all the crazy stuff. To say that we're the only industry that happens in is erroneous. It happens in medicine. It happens in politics. I'm telling you, that Epstein Island wasn't just musicians. It never was. The musicians that were there were probably performing. For the most part, for someone who is thick in the industry and knows heavy hitters in the industry, it's such a lie, right? But it's also a lie that they want you to understand and believe because it works to their benefit. It is easy for them to tell you, well, money is the root of all evil. No, it is not. Money expands who you are. If you're evil, you're going to be super evil. And if you are good, you're going to be great because it's only going to afford you the ability to give back even more. Keep it from us so much.
Whew. Okay, like I said, I was not ready. All right. So I should have been ready. I want to go to the COVID discussion because
Yeah.
this is where you and I finally connected.
Yes, I know.
Right? We finally got a chance to perform.
Like 12 years. Listen, it's not our fault that we are in high demand and requested and always busy.
I love it. Yes, that is it. That's it. That's it. We can't help ourselves. We're so talented. Right. Exactly. Yeah, but I do want to point that out because I did not know, Lennis, the power of some of the techniques that we're talking about before COVID forced me to look at, wait a minute, I have a camera. I don't know how to live stream, but I've set up web pages before. I've sent emails before. Maybe this could help me not starve, right? And so now you come on the scene. We finally get in that room. I'm going to put a link to it because I normally don't mix my musical career with this God and Gigs platform just because I don't want it to be, but I want people to see the example so that they can see that we're practicing what we preach, right?
Absolutely.
So the fact that you were able to come to my home, we were able to record, and that people paid ticket prices, some of your private clients that never get to see you because you don't do all these little dinner, right? Like
I don't do
you don't do that. So they got a chance to see you in an element that normally they would have to be in the private club to see. So we created this moment, and which is still online, by the way. I finally I let it out the paywall after 4 years. I'm like, okay, they get to see.
Oh, you let it out the paywall? Oh, good. I can share
4 years later, I'm like, okay,
of course, why not?
Yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine. Yeah. But the private show was always private because we valued, and this is what I found out when we did that. And I know this is all in the live stream, by the way, in the live stream course. I literally created a course about what we did, how I created a live stream and earned $10,000 during the pandemic, right? Because again, I was trying to help musicians like you're trying to help musicians and creatives. Like, don't assume that even in the worst of times that we can't pivot and find ways to use our gifts and use these strategies, business strategies, and it does not make you a sellout. Actually, okay, you took me down as a rabbit trail. I'm going to go down all the way. I actually heard this. I think it was from Will I Am on some Instagram. He said the term sellout was never determined, was never built like the idea of selling out to the industry.
Right, right, right.
The term sellout literally meant your music was so successful that all the products that they put next to it sold out.
Hmm.
It wasn't
That's
a
the that's the origin of it, right?
yes, but we take sellout as being so, oh, you're
Oh,
not
sure,
artistic anymore, you're
sure,
not creative
sure.
anymore. But we have, like you said, I love what you said earlier. I'm going to make you say it again because you said it before we start recording. You said something about how you don't even know what the term starving artist means. Can you go back to that a little
Which
bit?
one?
Just
Which
say,
one? I'm sorry.
you said something about the term starving artist. And I want to make sure you discuss that because we're talking to a lot of people that assume that there's only one or the other. Either you're rich and working with Beyonce or you're the starving
Or you're
artist.
a starving artist. So what happens to the 95% of us, right? It's the first thing I tell my students when they come in here for private lessons. You need to realize that your dream has to be clear. If you don't have clarity in what it is that you want to achieve, and you can't start taking bites, daily bites at that dream, then it is going to remain vapid in a dream forever. What I realized is that most artists believe that they're starving artists. So they live in that mentality and then they take any gig for any price and nobody sets the ground rule. So you have musicians today in South Florida earning $150 at a club for a 4-hour gig. And it is the same amount that they have been paying for the last 25 years. Who do we fault? Us. You can't look at the business owners and tell them, oh, they don't want to pay. If we all get together and collectively make them pay, they'll pay. But if you stay in that starving artist mentality, you're going to take anything. When I first moved down here, a person told me, well, Lennis, you can come out for exposure. I said, I sang at the Grammys. What exposure are you going to give me?
Mic drop.
And I said, and then they're like, oh, but we'll feed you. And I said, do you assume that I'm homeless and starving? Because then I am not a professional musician, right? So like, whenever I price myself, I sit in my value. You're not paying me for my voice. That gift I give for free because that's the one that was given to me. You pay me for my building, my office, my equipment, my time, my insurances, the things that I need to buy to keep my business afloat. And most importantly, my experience. So don't call Lennis today, the partner of her business, thinking that you're going to get an associate price. And that's what musicians do all the time. So you stay in that starving artist category because you believe it. You believe that you're not worth anything. What are you worth? What's your value? You are priceless. You are God's spark. You came from the Creator. How can you let another soul tell you that you're priceless, that you're what your price is? Nobody. I accept these prices. And I think that that's where musicians get lost a little bit. Because just talking to my other music, like my students, they'll be like, oh, but coach, I don't have these many gigs. And I'm like, well, your network is equal to your net worth. So if your net worth is not where it needs to be, why aren't you working your network? We are a family of musicians. And I am always looking for singers to cover me because sometimes my schedule gets super hectic. So to think and limit yourself in this mindset of lack creates a space of lack. And in that space of lack, God is not able to get to you or even give you the blessing because you're literally walled off to it.
Oh, gosh, this is so good.
So to me, I've never been a starving artist. I've never starved. And like I said at the beginning, you can see it. Just go online and see all my pictures. I'm not starving.
Exactly. And you know what? One of my favorite books was one of the first ones that I read when I first gotten gigs kind of figured out was Jeff Goins. And the name of the book is Real Artists Don't Starve. So look this up. You'll love this. I'm gonna put it's in my I have a Gotten Gigs library, kind of like a recommended books. I need to get everybody in the book club so that each one of these? Because you will, yes, you're literally just, you already said it. Like all you're going to read is just you like co-signing, because that's
great.
all it is.
That's great though, because then it's not just me saying it. Now I have someone outside of me and a book that I can provide even in the Musician to Mogul course.
Yeah, there you go. And perfect segue. Perfect segue.
Yeah.
So we were about, before we turned on the recording, we were about to go down the rabbit trail of building something that then helps other people build something, right? Because so much of what we do as musicians and creatives ends up being, well, I create the art, I create the music, I sing the thing, I play the thing, and then once the thing is done, the thing is done, right? You sing the song and the effect is the crowd claps, and it's over. And so much of what we do is, of course, the moment. We got to be present in the moment. We never want to like belittle those moments. For someone, it could be life-changing, right? It could have a ripple effect. But so much of what we do is like this ephemeral, like it's gone in a whisper, in a flash. And like, it's a, like you said, like you show up in the Grammys and like, then what? So many of the people I've interviewed on this show have been in the same seats you talked about, Broadway, Grammys, White House. And they all said, we still had to go home. And once those checks were spent, that was it. And I had to wait for the next tour. So what I think you kind of answered this, but maybe you can go a little deeper into what was the motivation to actually get into this mastermind to say, all right, I've done it myself, but I want to do it for other people and show them how to do it.
So really, it was really working in the last 2.5 years with my students. Because COVID kind of opened up my schedule a lot, I got to open and amplify my roster. And I kept hearing the continuous theme of the same questions. And I don't just teach singers. I have bass players that want to get better at singing. I have guitarists that just want to do background vocals in the band. So I teach voice for everyone. So I have a mixed bag of tricks because I got percussionists, guitarists, bass players, and professional singers all taking lessons from me. And there was one invisible string through all of them. They were all in the mind of lack. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. I couldn't, and that to me was like, so I started giving them just information. Here, look, call this agent, book this person, here's stuff, do that. And they all started working and they all are much happier here a year later. Super happy. I have the country artist is off to Nashville next week. So like, and he started with me 2.5 years ago without even being able to know anything about the industry. And I just kind of guided him. So if you want to help others, I've never been a gatekeeper, Alan. I never have been. I don't think I got this education from school, but where does school get it? From other people. So like, yeah, this information is out there. What I'm giving and what we all talk about, it's out there. It's just that there had to be a readiness available so that the musician can go, boom, here you go. In the Musician to Mogul program, I tried to make it as basic as possible so that I can condense it in 6 weeks and you can start getting out and go make money, right? Like that's the point. Like now go out and make your money. Now go out and follow the steps and do it. The group is going to be doing it while. That's why we meet once a week and then I follow up. Did you do what I told you last week? Right? Because you need to start working on yourself. And I got to see that. It's why I'm interviewing people. So the job form that I send out, people fill it out, doesn't mean that they get to come into the group. I need to make sure on those questions are the ones that are guiding me on seeing on whether or not you're really serious about this investment. This is my time, right? And no amount of money can give me my time back. So I want to make sure that people that I share my time with, they're going to take it and run. I only work with students that I know are going to put their best. I've dropped students where I no longer call them back because I see that they're not putting their best efforts forward. And again, it's my time. So it's not that I don't believe in you, but if you don't believe in yourself, I can't believe enough for both of us. So when people, and so many of us musicians wait for that external validation that.
Okay.
Oh, like, I'm just like, why are you waiting for that?
Okay, we have to explore that for a second because here's the things that you just talked about. So many limiting beliefs in terms of why you don't even bring people into the program until you have kind of expunge those limiting beliefs, or at least see that they're not going to let them limit them. So I guess my question is, I'm going to try to frame this right. My question is, when you have a client or a person in your program, right, that starts to see the light at the end of the tunnel, starts to see that, oh, adopting this mindset is actually, it's not the issue of my talent, one, right? We said that, because there's plenty of talented people that still see themselves as starving artists. It's not the gatekeepers. We've knocked that down, right? So what would be the number one thing that the students that succeed come back and say was the defining factor?
The number one thing that they come back and say is, I didn't think that I could do it like this. I didn't realize how easy it really was. I think that when musicians are met with the word business, you automatically picture a suit, and you picture rigidity, and you picture corporate America. What you don't understand is that business has changed a lot. And there's always been the Tony Robbins of the world, right? Public speakers are corporate America, right? You can see that they are part of that situation. That's who they go and they speak to, mostly is corporate America. So what happens is that musicians, and even, oh my God, I've been posting questions on my Facebook just to find out where musicians, right? And I'm like, I'll see like where this one musician was like, well, I'm a creative. See, that mindset I won't work with. So even when he DM'd me and asked me for the link, I said, no, I don't think that you qualify for the mindset that you need, because you need to have a mindset. It's not just about information. You need to be ready to take action after you're given that information. And so often, it's why I'm doing it like that. We're going to meet once a week, 6 weeks, 2 hours. If I have to break it up in 2 groups, that means it'll be 4 hours a week for me. That's okay. I'm okay with doing that, because I want to be able to follow and track that you're actually moving along with us, that you're getting the information and you're able to plug it into your own dream. Day one, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, what are the 3 things that you want to achieve with your career? And it better be 3, at least 3. It should be 20, but there should at least be 3. Do you know how many musicians I asked that question to, Ellen, and they can't even answer? I won't go far. I asked Georgie, my husband. He's been doing this his whole life, touring with the Gypsy Kings, everything. I asked him, I said, what are the 3 things you still want to achieve with your career? He's like, blank. And I was like, what? I was like, okay. Then I realized that I had to move to seasoned musicians, because I was like, okay, this is great. This is all for the green ones. No, it just so happens that so many of the people that have signed up already are like our group people. And I'm like, why do you need this course? I'm very concerned right now. But, and you know what? I am more than happy to be able to be the person that gives them all the information so they can go ahead and grow themselves to where they need to grow. But you can't stay in a pot, right? When a plant is growing and you see that it's outgrown the pot, if you keep it there, that plant won't grow anymore. It just stays there. And that's what most musicians do. Well, I'm happy in the gig world. Well, the gig world is not going to give you financial freedom, because you are still working gig to gig like people work paycheck to paycheck. So you haven't changed anything, right? And it doesn't matter if you're a gig worker that is on tour for 9 months, making $150,000 in that 9 months, and then making 0, because what have you done with your career aside from being 20 feet from stardom? What do you do when you get off of that? What happens when you're no longer the 23-year-old that can wear rhinestone bras and gyrate your hips on stage as a background vocalist? What happens when your beard goes gray and you're no longer the background vocalist that needs to be 20 feet from stardom? What happens then? Those are the questions that musicians fail to ask themselves, because you get so enthralled in the moment and the excitement of that stage that, oh, I'm on tour. Who cares? Great. You're doing the same thing we're doing here. I love that I can do this from my home, that I can do it at the clubs here, that I can book the Carve Center. I booked it. I run it. I make the money. So when you see me at the Carve Center, know that I'm a very happy person because I know that for the next few months, I don't even have to worry about my finances. But are you willing to invest in it? I had to pay $6,000 to rent the room. Do you invest in that and then take a gamble on yourself and say, you know what, maybe I will fill it out? But there's formulas for all of this, right? So you need to know what's the formula to price your ticket? What are the things? And those are the things that I feel that most musicians just
And I want to go back
have.
real quick. Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but
yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned the thing about the seasoned musicians, and you just said just don't have, right? So I think it is right where you just said the pot and the thing that used to work. And Lennis, I'm going to be very transparent in this right moment. So some people that's going to listen to this later is going to be like, this is where Alan lost it. But no, for real, I'm going to say something that's very, very, very personal in terms of literally what you just said, the gig world. I named this God in Gigs for a reason, right? I named this because that's what I was doing. I'm playing in church and I'm doing gigs. What am I doing now, Lennis? I am running 4 podcasts. I am still obviously playing at church, but I have not played a public gig other than the one that I run, just like we just talked about, the one that I booked, the one that I started myself with my friend Lovey, with our mutual friend Lovey. So I have not done the Chitlin circuit stuff, right? So how am I even being genuine, authentic by saying God in Gigs when I'm not even?
Okay, so what do you qualify?
And I think that's what I need to answer. I'm telling you right now, we're having a powwow right now. I'm already enrolling in your course because this is where I'm reforming. This is why I'm a part of several masterminds. I'm part of communities, and we got to go. Okay, I know we're going all over the place, but this is where we're trying to get to. We're trying to get people who have been in this to see a mindset, and maybe they're not going to change their mindset based on this one podcast, on hearing your passion. They should.
Sure.
But this will push somebody closer off the fence. When I say,
I always say, if it's just one person that's able to grow from this whole situation, then it's worth all of the last 7 months of investment.
100%. And you're going to absolutely do that because of what you're doing right now. And because you're not coming from, we say this in our church all the time, we lead by example, not by parking space. You're not leading by okay? You're not leading by parking space like, oh, well, I just got the title CEO. I'm a mogul now. No, you've lived it. You're doing it. You're showing people how to do it. You know the way, so you can show the way, right? Because you're going the way. So all of that actually makes you qualified. And I think here's one thing that we can definitely pin, and then we're going to have to do a whole webinar series. Please promise me. I'm putting you on the spot. I don't normally do this during the recording, but I'm putting you on the spot. This is, we can't contain this to one podcast episode. So here's.
Okay, as long as it happens after September 20th, because I'm going on tour to Budapest September 5th until the
You've
20th.
Heard it here on the recording. We've made it the date already. After September, we're going to make this happen inside my membership, which we are both, again, this is what we're learning to build. But I want to go to this because this is something where a lot of people get stuck, like we just talked about. This is where people get stuck in their mindset. So what do you say to the people who do say this? And this is something I've actually struggled with. Lennis, how do I invest and make that first step into not being just a gig musician, but being a mogul, an entrepreneur, thinking like a business person? How do I do that when I'm still stuck in the actual financial bind that I am? I can't mortgage my house. I can't do this. And so many people I know of, and I was one of them, that said, I can't move forward because until I have this resource, I can't do blank. So what do you say to those people? Again, we're assuming they have the mindset. We're assuming they want to break out. Okay, so we're giving them that pass.
Sure. So they have the mindset, definitely eager to work, they have all of those qualities, correct? Okay, well, I'll tell you what I did for one student that had all of those qualities and financially was not capable of doing. I have a sponsorship form, and I had one of my friends sponsor her and paid for her entryway for the 6 weeks. See, this is what most musicians don't understand. Your relationships go way further than just other musicians. If you're not networking with people that can actually be the sponsors of your events, you haven't made the right networks. So when you're thinking in terms of this investment, there's always going to be someone that if you have the passion and the drive and they see that you're interested, the only reason this student of mine got it because I know she has the passion. I know because why? It's evident every time she shows up every week from one lesson to the next. So if I know that you're going to be willing, I am willing to go outside to my sources and make sure that you're covered, right? And I've already personally given 5 free memberships because I don't, it's the God in me, right? It's the God in me, and believe me, my business manager will watch this and freak out when she hears it.
Okay, we're just okay.
From the mastermind course.
No one else tell her. Yeah, exactly.
You didn't tell her
just,
that, right?
Just thousands of people, but not her.
Okay. One of the things that I don't say that I struggle with, one of the things that I try and always do is always share my knowledge. Because I feel that knowledge is power, and that in that gain, you're able to evolve from it. I don't expect everyone to come and do, okay, this is the way Lennis does it. You do it like that. I expect you to get the information and then make it your own so that it fits your lifestyle. So if you are financially on a financial hardship, and God knows that's like
exactly.
What,
that's why I posed the question, because that's the question we're going to get, right? We're going to get it, whether we like it or not.
Right. And that's fine. So, and the program is, and I'm going to be super, super clear here so everybody understands. The actual price of the program is $997, right? When we worked it all out to see the cost and the cost of covering, the hosting site and all the other stuff, they were like, oh, we want you to be at $1,297. I said, absolutely not. And now especially if the people come and show up through God and Gigs, they're all going to get the code for the $500 off. So the program is only $497.
See, y'all don't understand.
Okay.
Like, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that you were willing to do that. And here's the part that I don't think people understand. I just sent out an email. I love that we're going into the weeds, actually. I was getting nervous at first.
Yeah.
Now I'm glad we're going to the weeds. Because people need to know like what's actually happening versus thinking this is all just kind of like some kind of smoke and mirrors fantasy. We are real business owners making real business decisions that's affecting our pocketbooks and whether we bring home food. So people need to hear this part versus saying, oh my gosh, she's selling it.
Sure, because I just invested 7 months of my own money, of my own work, and of my own time so that I can build this. Because when I sat with my mastermind coach, she was like, I think that you could, because we were going to really do something about voice singing, like lessons and different things. And I was like, I feel like that there's so many of those out there already. I said, what I feel that musicians are struggling the most with is the business aspect of it. And it's sad for me to watch because I know that you can, I have a famous saying, right? I always say, you can have your cake and eat it too. It's a lie that they tell you for you to believe it so that then you can always, oh, well, no, things are too good. What do you mean too good? Would you ever be in heaven and say, God, you know what? It's just too much fun up here. It's too good. So, I don't understand that mentality.
Oh, gosh,
right?
it's so crazy. But
when things are going good, thank you.
But we gotten used to the poverty, like you said, the scarcity mindset where we are scared of the success. I've been there. This fear of success, right? Because success demands things of you that poverty does not. So, I mean...
say that again.
So it's all coming from the same place. You know that. So the fact that we get more comfortable in our dysfunction, in our fear, that we're like, no, just leave me here because, like you said, heaven is a place. God is designing a place for us where our gifts, and this is, again, we're going way down deep the rabbit hole, but this is important to say that there's something beyond just, again, the temporary material things that you can earn. Yes, we want you to earn a living. Yes, we want you to be comfortable. Yes, we want you to have retirement. Yes, we want you to have health insurance. All those things are things that musicians never seem to understand that we actually should be able to have. An income that actually provides for your life. I went on a huge push on health because so many of our African American musicians lately have been passing away my age, 50, 45. And I'm like, you know why we're doing that? Because we sowed to a culture that said not having health insurance and not having the money for health insurance is somehow okay, and it killed people. So I'm not okay with that anymore. I am absolutely going to die on this hill that if you're not earning enough that you can pay for your own health insurance or do whatever it is with the whole, thing, this is what we're talking about. So you actually are, Lennis, by saying to musicians, run your business, you're literally saving lives, because now we're not stuck in this idea of, no, I just got to, wait for somebody to do a handout or wait for the tips or wait for whatever. It's like, no, if you're running a business, you can pay yourself enough to be at that level where you can take care of your business.
And I'm going to be honest, Alan, I don't want to be singing Single Ladies at a wedding when I'm 70.
Although that would be a great visual. That would be a great visual.
It's like, no, like a
funny visual
universe doesn't work for me. And that's me. That's me. Another singer will be all right with that. But me personally, I'll tell you why. Because in my dreamscape, in my vision board, in my happy place, as I get older, I move into just a couple of concerts a year. Right. And that is part of my dream. And it's why I always tell, and you'll hear me say it also in the program, is that your dreams are going to evolve and change as time progresses. To think that my dream of when I was 15, it would be valid today, that would be completely erroneous to believe. It would be a fallacy because I was so immature, so not connected to source, so not connected to God, so not deep enough, so not in the wisdom of life. And one of the things that I tell my sons, even, I'm like, you can't speed up time. Wisdom is time. It's life experiences. And the more wise you are, that means the more you got beat. That means the journey was tough. The wiser you are, the more life has taught you. Right? So I never have a moment where in my life I've said, oh, I can't believe that happened to me. I was always like, oh yeah, my dad died. They'd be like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, well, I was 12. It's fine. And did you do it? Why are you apologizing? Because I don't understand it. To me, it was more like, it's actually one of the reasons I'm going to be you're going to get a very transparent moment from me right now. It's one of the reasons I never went on any of those audition shows. Never mind that I knew a couple of the producers that were working, Idol and all the other stuff, and I knew the inside. But I knew that they would grab my story and, for lack of a better word, prostitute it. Because it sounds very, oh my God, your dad died when you were 12, and then you had to move to New York City, and you were in a 2-bedroom apartment with your grandma and your sisters, and life just went all crazy. And it can be played into that, right? And you know that producers are going to love that, right? And I have never, ever in my life been a victim of things that have happened to me. So, oh yeah, my dad died, but so did so many other people's dads. And there were parents in the hospital burying their babies and people that are starving. There's so many worse things that can be happening other than death, like constant and complete suffering. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with having a meal here at my house, knowing that my neighbor is hungry. I will go and split that meal if I have to. But that's just who I am as a person. So I knew it from the business aspect. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a golden nugget. People are going to love it. Oh, and she was all by her. And I just didn't want this victimization of my life to be put on display because it's not how I experienced it. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was sad. But all of our lives are hard and sad. And so why I don't want you to capitalize on that. You know, when my best friend that I've known since I was 9 years old has an incurable cancer and she fights it every single week for the rest of her life. So when people ask me about like my life, oh, it's been tough. Oh yes, being a single mom, that was hard too. Oh yeah, you know, life up and down. But I never strayed away from my business mind. I always knew, right? Even when I said I need to have a regular job during the day. And I started as the scheduling coordinator and moved up the rung to all the way to office manager and paralegal in law. Right. And almost to the point where the attorneys were like, can you go and study law? And I said, absolutely not. I am here as the equivalent of you as an attorney being the CEO of, like, let's say the South region of Winn-Dixie. It's a great job. It pays you well. That's not what you do though. So I'm here for now, but I'm not here forever. So don't make dreams of it, because this is just when I moved down to Florida, I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the industry down here, and the people that I knew in the industry would never have been coming down to Florida. I'm just going to be frank, because their joke was always like, Lennis, what are you doing in Florida? That's where musicians go to die. That's the joke outside of Florida.
Wow. But so it's
right. And I was like, that's not true. That can't be true. So now they're like, when we were in COVID, after that, they were like, can
exactly.
we
That's what I was about to say. Like the joke is on them. The joke is on them.
I thought Florida was
oh my God.
Right. But again, it's that it's because in South Florida, there isn't a culture of music goers. Right. So like when you go to New York, there's always these clubs that have live music every single night. You see Nicole Henry goes to 54 right. Below. They'll go out. There's all these clubs that are established places that anyone in the city knows. Oh, my friends are coming in tonight. Great. Last minute. Great. Here. Do you know how many times people call me and be like, hey, Lennis, we're in town here in Florida. What's live today? Oh, nothing. What do you mean nothing? Oh, it's Monday, Tuesday. No. You're going to have to wait till Friday, Saturday. Yep. Right. And they're like, to them, it's like, what? So that's why we have that image out there. But it's not because of our culture. It's just because now we're changing it a little bit. Like you can feel that the state is changing, right? Because the younger people have come down and moved down. Now there's not that many snowbirds leaving as much. They're all kind of staying. So we're switching that dynamic in the state. And I can see it in a business perspective where there's not going to be a summer.
Yeah. That's a big one right there.
Right? It's coming. It's coming. It's getting shorter and shorter, and it's going to eventually be like
but
no
more
summers.
Importantly, I think the key is, again, the mindset is that is why we did our event during the summers, because we want to change that entire mentality that we need to wait for people to show up. No, we cultivate it here. And this is going to be a
you build it and they will come.
Exactly.
Right.
I love it. Okay. We could go all night long and we're going to have to do this again. I want to ask you this one question. You started to answer it and I want to kind of take it back to it. Because you mentioned something about your dreams when you were 15 and 16, you went to when you were 19, right? What would the Lennis of today say to that Lennis who was 15, 16, 17, and just seeing just the dreams of Broadway or just the dreams of singing and just doing, what would you say to her? Because
and they were Broadway. I was going to be a musical theater,
right?
That was
so what would you say to that young lady now? Because there's somebody else who's in the exact same position who might be hearing this podcast right now, and they're not going to get in the program yet, but they're going to be, right, one day. So what would you say to that young person so that they would kind of understand the arc of what you've all learned?
So I had something similar in therapy that I had to do something like that about telling.
Okay, so I'm not trying to be your therapist right now. I hope you're not. Okay, I promise.
No. But it's true. So I have the answer. That's why I'm like, oh, it's kind of funny because I have it. It was just like 2 months ago. What I would tell myself, I would sit down and I would look at myself and I would say, it's not going to be easy. But this dream of you possibly going to Berklee, it's going to come true when you're 19. And you don't know that yet. And life is going to throw you in the washing machine, but you're going to come out cleaner. And I'll just be waiting here for you. And I'll hold your hand the whole way through. And I got you. That's it. That's really all I would say, because I feel that that's how I lived it. And I don't want to change anything. I don't think that I need to change anything. I know that God is writing the script and I'm just playing my part. And if this is how he wants it written, well, then so be it.
Well, you know what you're doing with your program? You are literally being that same person holding the hands of the people who are coming to your program. You are doing that. That is literally what
That's
you're
amazing.
doing. So, with that being said, make sure they know now, as all the old school people who are not tapping the link, they are writing it down because they're old school, right?
Right.
Everybody, we all know the links are literally right there in the show notes. You can just tap it. But for all those who are writing it down, let them know how they can learn more about you and your program so that they can learn more of this wisdom that you've shared.
Okay, so right now, I mean, the Musician to Mogul platform is still kind of under building. So everything is landed into the lennissabatino.com on my website. So you can go there. And then there is a musicmogulmastery.com that is still kind of like, they're still working on it. So I haven't given that one out yet, but it will be ready within the next couple of days.
Okay. Oh, yeah. By the time, so most likely
so
look out, look for the links because it might be there already. Yeah.
So, musicmogulmastery.com. And the reason I didn't name it Musician to Mogul is because that's just one of the programs from the different facets that I'm going to build.
Good to know.
So I just wanted to have this Mogul platform. And then eventually I'm going to load all of that stuff. And people are going to be able to go in there and just download it and pay per whatever they want. So that's why the website is being kind of maneuvered because it needs different things. And I've come up like our graphic designer is like, Lennis, you are dreaming up the source code that I don't think has ever been written. I said, you have AI, tell it to write it.
Exactly. No limits.
That's like, you have AI now. Tell it to write the code. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Do you want me to tell it?
Oh my gosh, it's so good, so good. Well, I know it's going to be a playground for so many people and they're going to learn so much, but my sister, you are literally like a light. You are a light shining on the hill, and a light shining on the hill, as you know in the word, cannot be hid. You cannot hide, Lennis, no matter how much you try. So thank you so much for being on this program, and it's not going to be the last time. So hopefully they're following and sharing right now.
No, we'll definitely get
somebody right now, and I will tell you right now, if you're listening, you should have shared it by now because you know somebody else who needed this kind of inspiration, this hard-hitting, real talk about being a musician or creative. Get it out of that starting artist mentality and into a thriving artist mentality. So, Lennis, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me. Thank you all for listening. And, I can't wait till I'm back next time.
Friend, thank you for watching this episode. If that blessed you, you got to make sure that you stay connected with this community and this channel so that you can get more where that came from. We're sharing great interviews, tactics, strategies, mindsets, lifestyle choices, everything that's going to help you become a totally confident creative. And don't miss an episode of the God and Gig Show. If you are staying connected to our channel, you'll be able to find us anytime we release new episodes. And you can check out some of our archives of almost 200 episodes now that we've shared over the last few years. Make sure you check out one of the suggestions right now because it's probably perfect for you to continue to develop as a creative. And continue to stay connected with us because we're here to help you become the creative that God created you to be. We'll see you in the next episode.